Yes, welcome to Satsang and meditation, and welcome to all the friends around the world who are joining us tonight, and for some of you it's this morning. The skies have opened the last days, no? Pouring a lot of blessings. Sometimes it may be a few too many blessings. And I find it's always a good time to go in, no? When the sky is overcast, when we don't see into the infinite.
You're not plugged in.
I'm not plugged in. Thank you. What would we do without you? So, thanks to Paul, you can hear me better, hopefully now. I was just mentioning the lot of rain that we had in the last days and today, and how it's a beautiful possibility to move in. If we take the analogy of clouds and sky for our inner being, we could say the clouds, they just appear to hide our vastness. But as human beings, when we look out, we all know there is a sky. When we look in, we are not so sure if there's something beyond our personality, beyond our beliefs, beyond our thoughts, beyond our identifications. So for me, I see satsang or these kind of meetings as a mutual remembering of the sky. And funny enough, many of us are hiding our vastness behind a layer of clouds. And what are these clouds? They're very entertaining. It's like when you stare into an empty sky, eventually there is really nothing to see anymore. And that's why we can many people only look into the sky for a short moment. But then when there's clouds, then it gets interesting. And the sun reflects in different areas of the clouds, and there's a silver lining, and it gets dark, and in the evening and in the early morning it's red. So there's a lot of things happening to entertain our mind and play the illusion of form in the formless. It may sound very strange, that we can talk about ourselves as formless. But again, when we look deep enough, the form and everything that is attached to the form somehow retreats in the background, and what comes to the foreground is that which never comes and goes. Just before I came down here into the pool house, I was having a little meditation, and it was strange because I thought I'm fully awake, but just present. And 15 minutes later, I looked at the watch, and it felt like 2 seconds that I had lied down. So I don't know what happened, but definitely something touched the formless. And the beauty, and I recommend these little, you can call them power naps, these little returns to the source are incredibly rejuvenating if we give ourselves permission. Because during the whole day we are busy with form, pretending that every form is real, pretending even that our thoughts are real. Our emotions, they feel a little bit more substantial, so we can maybe think they are real. Our body is more solid, we think the body is real. And on a certain level it is. So why are we here? To just remember something that is so obvious and yet so hidden. A few days ago I listened a little bit to Moji, and he had a beautiful analogy of the ocean, and of the octopus. When, I don't know if you've been snorkeling and have seen an octopus, when you come closer to the octopus, he shoots some ink into the water, and then you only see ink, you don't see the octopus anymore, and he can disappear without you seeing or knowing where he goes. Now, how much ink do we have inside of us? Each time we interpret any situation, we spit out ink. Each time we have an opinion about anything, we spit out ink. Each time we fight to be right because my belief is right and your belief may be not so right, we are spitting out ink. If we look at the Australian Parliament, it's an ink pot. Yeah. So it's an interesting journey, and it's really like hide and seek. And the amazing thing is, in these little moments, and there can be hundreds during the day, where we remember it's like a reset. It's like replugging into the infinite source. And then from there, if we dare, the feng shui of our so-called personality falls back into a deeper harmony without effort. Does it make any sense? Joe Dispenza says it in a different way. He says, you know, I wanted to quote him and it doesn't come. So maybe it comes later. It's something around the person and how our belief system creates the person. And this belief system loses its separative power when we move deeper inside, beyond it. And the human mind, all these sages and monks and beautiful people that are seeking or have found their true nature or enlightenment or whatever you call it. In many traditions there is this possibility for darkness meditation. Many years ago, we had a regular darkness meditation in Pune every day for a few weeks, just sitting in darkness for an hour or so. It was absolutely no light. At the time, I didn't quite understand why we do this. I liked it. I couldn't pinpoint why I liked it. And only many years later, I did this darkness retreat in India for 10 days and nights. And it dawned on me that it is actually consciously resting in the nothingness, and in this case the nothingness of light, which, light has a very strong influence on everything we see. We see things only because they're lit up by daylight, by the sun, or by artificial light. When we take the light off, there are no more objects, at least no more perception of objects. And it can give us a break of perceiving. And then we fall back into the space in which everything is perceived. So it's a beautiful meditation. But in my understanding, every meditation technique, and there is really, it's a bit of a tricky thing. Our mind loves to find new techniques. And there's this beautiful book, Vigyan Bhairav Tantra, where Shiva talks about the 112 meditation techniques that are the base for all other meditation techniques. And he shares it with his beloved Devi, who is already awake, who knows who she is. So he creates a bridge between the mind that needs a technique and no mind that where any techniques is misleading. But as we are all in different levels of understanding, some of us need a technique, and some of us get attached to the technique and then we are in a new trap. And some of us make out of the technique a belief system that eventually then becomes a religion. And then the religion is the ideal, and the moment we are functioning or running after an ideal, we have to hide the shadow, and we are again in division. So it's a jungle, but it's only a jungle when we try to grasp the ungraspable through the mind, through thought. On the other side, it's a beautiful game. It's a beautiful play to investigate into the capacities of the mind on so many different levels. On the conscious level, on the subconscious level, and on the collective subconscious, on the cosmic subconscious. That's kind of the ladder down into a level of infinity. And then on the superconscious and the collective superconscious and the cosmic superconscious, which from that perspective is simply an expansion or a refinement of vibration until the waves are so high frequent that it looks like a straight line. Nothingness, no more wave. Since for the mind it's impossible to conceive even nothingness, because If we conceive it, there's a conceiver and there's not nothing. So if we disappear into nothingness, from my side, we can only the language becomes very difficult because anything I'm going to say is going to be something. But if we dare to go deep enough, then we can move in synchronicity with each other beyond mind. And then when later, I remember we were sitting for more than 10 years, every morning, every evening with Osho in Pune. And why were we so attracted to that? Because it's the most boring thing for the mind. Well, I can only say for myself, I felt attracted because that inner, call it nothingness, felt like light. It felt like bathing in wellness. But only in retrospect I can give these words. And this is the incredible attraction to the master who resides in nobodiness most of the time. I haven't met anyone who always resides there. Then I think we can only reside there when the body is gone. Because obviously as long as somebody is in the body, there is a level of personality. There's a level of likes and dislikes. I remember Osho talked about spaghetti, how much he hates spaghetti. And because he was very sensitive to smell, and one of his early disciples, she was an Italian mama and she loved to cook for him, and every day spaghetti. So at least on that level there is a like and a dislike. So the attempt to annihilate everything doesn't quite work as long as this divine existence embodies itself through us. So I would say to all the fanatic seekers that want to get it and want to be nothing for dear life, relax, you're already nothing. And then enjoy what the body, expresses every moment. Let it be a surprise. That which is aware is happy to watch and enjoys the creativity. So, again, many wisdom systems have tried to point to this. And as you know, I love Arasoma. And in Arasoma, the nothingness, which is the potential for everything, is wonderfully put into this magenta pomander. It looks black, doesn't it? It looks dark. It looks like nothing special. But the amazing thing is that Goethe was investigating into the magenta color already, into the deep magenta. He called it the invisible color. And when you hold it into the light, then it actually is a deep maroon. So symbolically, in the language of color, what does that mean? The black is the absence of all color. But when we bring attention and consciousness into the dark nothingness, we may eventually realize that this is the source for any expression into form. It's the source for all our thoughts. It's a source for all our beliefs. It's a source for all our feelings. It's a source for all our action. It's a source for all our experiences. And yet the source itself stays attributeless. And I think Arasuma did well to put that in a bottle into a vibrational field that we can, we can touch it, see it, feel it, and be guided back into the original source. Shall we try that? Let's have a little ritual with the deep magenta. If you could stand up and make your left palm available. And you're going to get 3 drops of the deep magenta to your left. And then you can rub your palms together and close your eyes. And yes, we are using our mind in our fantasy. So you can imagine you're holding the source of your being in your palms. And you can raise your arms high above the head and send this deep magenta ray all around the planet Earth, out of your left hand, around the earth, back into the right hand. Reminding every being on this planet of their innate empty nature. You could say dark nature or light nature, it's one. And then from here, from the inner infinite source, we can hold our palms above the crown, facing downward. And just imagine you're showered by a deep, dark, dark night where not even the stars are visible. Just infinite darkness. And perhaps that sense of being like soothing quality of darkness. And then you can come closer to the energy field around your head, and we can clear and clean your aura, all the thoughts, with darkness so that they dissolve into nothingness. And clearing your energy field around the head, around the temples, through the back of the head, and bringing your palms together above the crown, this symbolic gesture of oneness. And then with your palms together, moving through your third eye, feeling how the darkness, the endless blackness enters the third eye and moves downward through your whole body, opening your palms at the throat and allowing the deep magenta to gently melt all our limiting beliefs, so that we naturally move into not knowing, from where all creativity arises. And then moving through your shoulders and arms, this dark caress. When I do that, I have the vision that actually my arms disappear into the night, cannot be felt or seen anymore. And then when you come to the heart, with the deep magenta clearing the outer layers of the heart with darkness, where all ideals and shoulds and the shadow of should nots simply dissolve in the empty night. And we can reconnect with the genuine empty heart that Zen Buddhism talks about. And allowing your palms to rest with your heart for a moment. Feeling this dark, endless night that in one way appears dark and in another appears light. And then moving further through the solar plexus, allowing the deep magenta to dissolve all strategies of separation. And then we can reconnect with the genuine energy of uniqueness, of power, of joy, to be ourselves. And further down to the second chakra, in the darkness of presence, all emotional traumas and holdings can simply dissolve into the depths of the night sky. And the belly can relax and begin to feel the subtleties of feeling, of sensitivity, of emotion. And further down to the first chakra, bringing that deep dark magenta into your sexual energy. That's where it rests at the deepest place. And along the legs, all the way down, connecting with Mother Earth. And this is a good moment to become empty, to let go, to pour everything that appears in consciousness, that appears in that nothingness, allowing it to pour into the earth. So we become even more empty. Empty, empty, empty. And noticing, even when we are completely empty, we could say, I still exist. But as what? How? We don't know. But I am. And then as we come up, allow the deep dark magenta rise inside your body, flooding your whole body from your feet all the way up into darkness. And spreading out for a moment, your arms being held in the dark womb of existence. And bringing your palms close to your nostrils, taking 3 deep breaths of this fragrance into the temple of the body. and then we can sit down. And close your eyes. I want to dedicate the light of the candle today to that deepest recognition of who we truly are. And just as a remembrance, we're going to have a meditation where I first share a little guidance, and then I will just sit for a while. Just get a sense of that I am. That which is left when everything that we know, that we can label, is gone. In day-to-day life, each time we say I, we add something after the I. Usually we add a verb. I see, I feel, I know, I think, I trust. And we very often forget that we could not say anything if there wouldn't be a witnessing consciousness that is I. So in this meditation, I'd like to invite us all to just rest as this I as this field, as this space, this unnameable, infinite. And today we use the metaphor of darkness, in infinite darkness. And perhaps we can find that every thought if we pay attention to it, it takes us into its content, like I think. And the moment we remember that I is before the content, we can slip back into I, into formless. And of course the mind that has learned over so many years and centuries and millennia to identify with thought, the pull of thought may continue for a while. Don't judge it. It's just these split seconds of remembering I. Remembering I am. Perhaps for moments the mind will give up because there is no thing to attach to. And it is such a simple state, just being. That for the mind that likes it complicated, it is perhaps too simple. I am. Rest here. And perhaps we can feel that all the friends in this room and all the friends that are connected from around the world, we all dissolve. There's only one I am, infinite, obvious, incomprehensible. And perhaps there is this very subtle joy emerging out of the deepest darkness. And don't attach to it. It's almost like a firework in slow motion. Out of darkness arises this light that shoots in the sky and makes these beautiful colors for a split second. This is like our thoughts. Good thoughts, bad thoughts, right thoughts, wrong thoughts. Fireworks. And then the next second it all disappears back into darkness. So rest. Rest here. Here's the peace that we all have been looking for desperately, everywhere. a deep breath to wake up. To expand a little. Existence has its own unique timing.
First thing I thought about, it was a beautiful safety feeling in the darkness. I'm so safe and
It is safe in darkness, no?
nothing to worry, nothing to think about, nothing to see.
Mm.
It's beautiful.
It's interesting, no? That when the mind looks back, only the mind can interpret it as beautiful, and yet it is. It's such a deep, calm.
Safe.
And everything that appears is already, held in a black cotton ball. How is it for the friends who are joining us here? Could you dive into that soothing depths of darkness, or is there any comments or anything that you would like to share or ask or bring to consciousness? Feel free. Our Steve is here and can read your comments and pass them on. And if nothing is happening, this is for us here. Don't wait for anything to happen. Things happen by themselves.
Question, Rahasya.
Yes.
What is the mind and where is it located?
That's a good question. The question is, what is the mind and where is it located? Anything that we would say as an answer would be again the mind, trying to interpret something that actually is more formless. Any thought. Some thoughts appear very solid, but when we inquire into the thought, try to, put a toothpick into it and lift it out of the mind, there is nothing there. So what is the mind? The mind is a misunderstanding. The mind is a concept that gives us an identity that is not real. Now the saying from Joe Dispenza has come back, where he says, your personality creates your personal reality. So what is our personality? Our personality is a labeling onto the mysterious expression of life through form. Is that too complicated? Let's try again. Consciousness is formless, beginningless, endless. Don't believe me, check it out and you will find it. You will find what consciousness is not. You will find everything that we are not. And then what's left is who we are. And the mind is kind of this play of illusion, of form and expression that is actually not needed. You know? We are consciousness in form, or other people say we are the divine in form, the divine existence that has, you can call it the creative impulse of the universe, gives form and color to everything that we see, feel, sense, and perceive. But the source of it is empty. So the source also gives rise to thought. That when we create a sense of self out of thought, becomes a belief and becomes an identification. And we call that the mind. The mind is in a way like a cloud, hiding the empty sky. So what was the question? What is the mind?
What is the mind and where is it located?
Where is it located? Nowhere. Where is the cloud located? We could say yes, in the sky. But the sky is not a location, the sky is infinite. In the same way, mind or thought appears to have a location, appears to be solid, because it has the trickster quality to create an identity out of our beliefs and thoughts. And this is why Joe Dispenza is kind of a very intelligent man who helps people to change their lives by simply finding ways to change the thoughts, to change the belief system. But it's not the I, the separate sense of self, that can change the belief system. It is the dissolution, the recognition of our inner emptiness that can initiate the change. Because the moment we are, like we've been exploring darkness, the moment we are sitting in darkness, everything is held and everything is possible. We could go anywhere, we could move from nothingness into any direction. We just move very often in a similar direction because it gives us the illusion of a separate person, which then gets more solid through what we call the ego. And all that is a play of consciousness and form. And all we do here, if we do anything, is we're returning the movement from nothingness to form back from form to nothingness. And when that realization of spacious nothingness is more or less uninterrupted, we call this awakening. But who is there to awaken? Nobody. I know it sounds very weird and very illogical, but this is the beauty of this existence. Another way to say it is consciousness is fully present and enlightened when the body-mind has died. Don't believe that, but ponder about it. The personality dissolves. The body, even the body, when the body dies, body dissolves. Mind hopefully dissolves too. Otherwise it will try and find a new body and a new incarnation to complete the backward journey into nothingness. I don't know. So the moment you ask, what is the mind and where does it come from? That very mind creates something that can be investigated. And that is a big illusion, because mind is not a thing. So any word we use, any language we use, is actually misleading. That's why sitting in silent presence comes closest to the reality of being. Does that help, dear questioner? Just before there were a few more lines. I don't know if something more came.
Sunitha Cornell says, to say I am was a great help for me.
Kinita, great. Beautiful Kinita. It's a great help for me too when we don't complete anything after the I am. When we resist the temptation of naming and of movement through a verb. No? I see, I feel, I touch, I smell, I taste. I do. There's all these verbs. And behind, I am. And when you turn around with the I am, can you find an I in the am? Then the I dissolves too. Then there's only am. Such a mystery, and such a joy to explore, knowing that the result of all exploration takes us into the infinite nothingness of being. I think this is why the big belly Buddha is laughing. Maria Paz. Hi,
she sends a link for the online free event this Sunday. Which is live Q&A. Or maybe share.
Yeah. Maria Paz, thank you for sending that link. This is kind of a hint for those of you who want to go a little bit deeper into Tantra, we have a free event on Sunday, Australia evening, Europe morning, 1.5 hours with question and answers. There's beautiful Rosario who will ask me questions about Tantra. And you can sign in, it doesn't cost anything. And we can open into the mystery of Tantra on pretty much every level. I don't want to know the questions so that the answer can come spontaneously out of the moment. In a way, whatever we are sharing here, whenever we move into a satsang, whenever we merge into more the formless and then explore the form from the space of the formless. Can you imagine if we do that with our sexuality, which is the strongest energy we have, and when we allow that to be observed from the spacious consciousness of being, where we don't move actively into any activity, not even into the sexual activity, and we allow the body and the nature of energy to find its way, then that's what we could call Tantra. And if that happens between man and woman, then we can add the sexual aspect of Tantra, which is such a royal path, if you like, to awakening, where every aspect of human form and expression, every aspect of our energy, and we have so many different aspects of energy, falls back into life itself. So in a way, every satsang is a Tantra session. Allowing what is, using what appears in consciousness, not resisting anything, not interpreting any experience, but allowing the river of life to flow backwards to its own source and renew itself to flow more. But we're going to talk more about this on Sunday evening. I think it is 8 o'clock New South Wales time evening and 10 o'clock Europe, Central Europe time, Sweden and Germany and so on. So please join me. It will be a very interesting and beautiful evening. And it's going to be a Zoom session, so you can directly also ask questions and see all the friends that are interested. Thank you, Maria, for reminding us. And you find the link on this recording, on this Facebook Live recording. Tantra for me is kind of very, very close to my heart, because it's a birth of love in a new way each time. I find one of the most important questions we can ask ourselves before we die, which could happen any moment, is, have I loved enough? Everything else becomes meaningless. Whether you made enough money or not doesn't matter when you die. Whether you've been healthy or sick doesn't matter. You will all die. Whether you have been the president of a country or a beggar, doesn't matter. We will all die. What is essential? Perhaps the male would say awareness, and the female would say love. And in the meeting of love and awareness is the mystery that got the name Tantra. So have we loved enough? Selma, you say no. What are you waiting for?
How do we know if we've loved enough?
That's a very good question. The question is, how do we know that we have loved enough? What comes to me is when there is more and more a sense of immense gratitude for anything that happens. That's an interesting answer, I know. Yeah. But I think that's a good one. No? It's a good answer. No? Thank you. It just came from that loving space. It's like, and that is something very simple. You know, when you wake up in the morning, I often wake up in the morning. It's almost, I can't believe how blessed I am to just be alive right now. That the breath is moving, the heart is beating, the birds are singing, or it's pouring rain, or thunderstorm, or sunshine. And to appreciate, not just appreciate, but to be so grateful for anything. No? For example, for you guys sitting here with me, supporting the creation of a field that goes pretty much all over the world. For all the friends that are joining. Yeah. And more, all the friends that are meditators and click into that energy field of presence. Yeah.
You know, Rahasya, when I sit now, I really feel that it's only when that person is, or when I'm really fully present, that I'm able to love, or
Yes.
and the gratitude is very much, because that's an outflow that actually occurs when there is no volition or movement at all. There's no resistance to anything.
Let me translate that for the friends who don't hear you. So Selma says something very beautiful. It's like, she said, no, I have not loved enough, because she realized love only arises when I'm fully present. And that is so true. When I'm fully present, I am deeper than the personality that has likes and dislikes, and I'm deeper than the labeling mind that puts things into good and bad and right and wrong and high and low. And all that is irrelevant or not so important than the presence and the perception of everything that is already here. And the strange thing, I don't know how it works, we call it gratitude. You know, gratitude, it's not to anybody specifically. You can put a god with a beard up there that you call the creator, but everything, including this body-mind, is a creative force that keeps unfolding. And we can just all say thank you again and again.
And Rahasya, then there's like a full interchange that then happens. Like when gratitude is present, it's just a flow that occurs without any
resistance.
There's actually nothing happening when gratitude happens.
When gratitude happens, there's actually nothing happening. I love that. There's a flow of nothing happening. I like that.
It feels like that,
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. And it can be anything, no? And this space, I don't know about you, but in a way this space gets triggered more and more. It's more like when I compare in the past, when I was ambitious and wanted to achieve things and be, on the top of it all and, be good in everything that I wanted to be. The gratitude for what is was kind of not so strong. It was overlooked in the becoming. So you said it beautifully, only when we are totally present, when all the becoming kind of gives way to that which is here. And it's not even an attitude, because an attitude would be kind of a certain choosing. It is just, wow. No? There's something more written, or was it you? Did you write?
There's a comment. I wrote something, but there's a comment from Chanda Katharina Koenig.
Chanda, hello.
She says, I'm very happy that you are not one of those enlightened who is saying that one has to let go of sex to discover the total.
No one has to go deep into sex to discover the total. but you see, the thing is with going into sex is like it can be very much misunderstood. No? Unfortunately, many of us who have been sitting with Osho, and Osho kept talking about it, have, or at least some have become sex and love addicts, so more and more sex, because then it's still an outward movement, but when sex becomes an inward movement, then the energy is not released and gets lost into more and more excitement. The energy is absorbed and rises, and only when it rises, and this rising cannot be done willingly, it happens in the presence and gratitude of the wonderful love exchange that starts with sex and moves into sensitivity and into joy and into love and into prayer and into awareness and into oneness, and it's all sourced in one energy. So to deny sex is actually to deny your own awakening. And it doesn't mean if you don't have a partner that you're doomed. You can you're not doomed. You still have other ways to experience, your alive vitality and sexual energy. But if you're blessed enough to share this wonderful energy with a partner, then tantric lovemaking can transform your personal reality massively, because you have to surrender your personality in love. You cannot love as a personality. Either there's love or there's a personality. And that is, again, creating another personal reality that is a life of love, no matter what happens. Because that's, for me, love is another word for consciousness, for isness, for presence, for God, for divinity, for superconsciousness, all these exciting names of nothingness.
I've got one comment from Marie Paz.
Yeah.
It relates to what you said. How do we know when we've loved enough? When you find that you have immense gratitude for everything.
Yeah.
She says, Marie says, I can relate to that. The moment I experience what appeared behind the question, can I never love my brother's suicide? Is it true? Then love the I became, she says. So she started to love it. It was breathtaking, breath-giving at the same time, deep gratitude.
Thank you, Maria. Yeah, that's very deep. You know, existence throws things at us and experiences at us, almost like a trickster that says, okay, now you have experienced love, now I give you this situation. Can you still love? I can relate to that very much. My mother committed suicide in a time where I was more kind of in my achieving role as a therapist, and really was in the illusion that I could save her, and of course I couldn't. And can we find love in that? Took me a while. I wasn't searching for it. It was just incomprehensible for me. And then at a certain point, the recognition that everything is held and everything is the way it is accepts everything. But that doesn't mean that you become a couch potato and don't do anything. It doesn't mean that. Sometimes love is fierce and acts. Sometimes love, you know, when there's in the moment there is so much going on around the COVID-19 and the story, and what in it is a lie and what in it is true, and what about the vaccine, what is a lie and a big business, and what is true. And maybe we'll never find out what is true or what is not true, but that gives rise to an inner intelligence that doesn't fuel the massive division that people are in, especially around the spiritual people, like in Mullumbimby, Byron Bay. It's a hub for spirituality here in Australia, and the division between the vaxxers and the non-vaxxers is massive. You know, there are endless discussions and stories and interpretations, and it's all the same story of love is missing there in the need to be right, and perhaps we can love that we can be wrong and right, because ultimately consciousness, the sky doesn't know anything about right or wrong, it only knows what is. But we as humans getting challenged to investigate into the truth within this phenomenon. So it's very interesting to see what happens. So if we die of COVID, have we loved enough? And I hope, I wish us all a long life. Maybe we stay alive, no? For a while. So life and death is another topic. Maybe we take the next satsang. Life and death, it's a big one. No? And it's only one breath. No? The in-breath is life, the out-breath is death. Okay? And unless we die every moment to the past, we recreate a new personality. So living and dying. Thank you for today. Thank you, beloveds. Thank you for being here. And next satsang is next Friday, and Sunday evening question and answers about Tantra. I hope it's going to be something like a satsang. Because what can we point to? We don't need more techniques or more tricks to tricks of the mind. We can dissolve and merge together in tantric wisdom. Thank you. Have a beautiful rest of the evening and rest of the day. Namaste.